Welcome, climate viewers. It's Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News, weathermodificationhistory.com, and all them other things. How y'all doing this evening? It's been a minute. If you're new here, if you don't know about this subject, if you haven't heard about all of the states that are currently trying to ban geoengineering and weather modification, and don't understand why, that's not going to make the clouds go away that you're complaining about, this is the video for you. If you think that I'm a shill, if you're scared of little symbols like the one down here, if eyeballs scare you, this is not the video for you. I suggest you go ahead and turn the channel and run quickly away. Tonight we're going to be digging into how to actually fight and win the cloud battle. That's right, the battle for your skies, to clear the air, to clear the skies, to bring back the sun. How do we do it? And how do we actually make a difference without being part of the problem? We're going to get into that and a whole lot more. If you're new here, if you've never been here before, check out my newly updated connect.climateviewer.com. That will connect you to all of my things: ClimateViewer News, weather modification history, all 660 maps, and my SUBSTACK, Telegram chat, all of the things. How's the RFK thing going? Not too good. Yes, I was nominated for the Maha Forums, but no phone calls yet. We're still waiting on that. Don't hold your breath. It's government. They make promises made, promises kept. We shall see. That being said, we're gonna get into this like fast and furious, and we're gonna focus today on Tennessee as a case study. Tennessee banned the chemtrails. Let's cut the shit. It may say geoengineering ban, it may be banning cloud seeding, but let's be realistic. What did they actually do? Now, for those who weren't there when I originally covered it, I made a video like as this happened, and I put Tennessee chemtrail bans fatal flaw. This was uploaded March 24th, 2024. Called it, nailed it. Was right then, I'm right now. I'm right 99.8% of the time, and the 0.2% is only because the other person was ignorant, okay? I'm practically perfect in every way. Many of you want to be me, but you will never be Jim Lee. I make the predictions, and they come true. I'm like a genie, except on the internet. Woogie-doo-boo. So why did I know that this ban in Tennessee would not make the clouds go away? Riddle me this. If you're a staunch chemtrail believer and you believe that all of the government programs are what are causing all the clouds you're seeing in your sky because they're unmarked planes, they're full of bottles, they're painted white, they don't show up on flight radar, everything you're seeing is complete BS to me. You know, Jim's version of events aren't real. Jim's in La La Land. Okay? Okay. That being said, so let's look at what did the bill actually say? What was the actual bill, and what did it actually say? So we'll go and we'll actually look at the bill before we look at why it did not work. So the bill right here, it's called State Bill 2691 or House Bill 2063. And in summary, for those who didn't read this, it says a bill to prohibit the intentional injection, keyword intentional, injection, release, or dispersion by any means of chemicals, chemical compounds, substances, or apparatus within the borders of this state, Tennessee, into the atmosphere, keyword, with the express purpose of affecting temperature, weather, or the intensity of sunlight. I'm going to translate for you. Intentional. Can you prove that planes are intentionally making clouds? You cannot. I cannot. Nobody can. With the express purpose of, meaning there's no other reason why you did this. There's no other reason. The express purpose of affecting temperature, weather, or intensity of sunlight means that if a plane is flying through the sky and it makes a freaking cloud and they didn't fly that plane to expressly affect the temperature, the weather, or the intensity of sunlight, then guess what? This law does not apply. Is anybody surprised by this? So it was very simple to go, well, you know what? That's not going to affect planes making clouds. Now, I'm gonna shoot you straight. Why do I know this? Because I can predict this. I can predict this with like 100% certainty at this point. It's pretty damn easy. It's called the Schmidt-Appelman criterion. You just look at radiosonde data. Hell, there's even a plugin on windy.com. I showed it to my friend Jeff. He's a Navy meteorologist. He's been teaching me all this stuff. I was like, dude, I found an easier way. It's literally, just goes through the computer models and tells you how much supersaturated air is up there. Ice supersaturated regions. Word of the day. So to really hammer this home, to really beat a dead horse, before we go any further, I want to show you guys something pretty amazing. So I wrote this. I made this image, which I'm holding upside down. Good job. I drew this and I said, Dominic, I'm making a video tonight and I'd really like to show this to show people that geoengineering happens here and geoengineering happens here, but this is not geoengineering. And why? And guess what Dom was able to spit out for me? Oh, show me them beautiful graphics. I sent this to him 45 minutes ago. Look at my boy work. Look at my boy work. So let's get a little education on what geoengineering is and what it isn't, and what weather modification is and what it isn't. Because terminology matters. And if you don't understand the terminology, you're not going to be able to affect change. And if you're ill-educated, but you're full of vigor and vim, you may just pass laws and then not get the desired results. And we're going to go into why. So, shout out to my boy Dominic Marama, my partner in crime at weathermodificationhistory.com. Best graphics artist on the internet, probably the whole world. Nobody even close. Yes, that's right. I said it. I said it. He is amazing. Dom, love you, brother. Hope you show up, chat. Storm Fury 101, looking for you. Dom is a beast. But this is what happens when you combine a genius like me, a nice little drawing, and then you send it to, take a picture with your phone and send it to somebody who knows what the hell they're doing and knows all the terms that I know, and beautiful. Mwah. So, what do we have here? On the ground, down here where us earthlings are, that's where ground-based cloud seeding generators are, like the one pictured here. This is an AHOGS, AHOGS, AHOGS cloud seeding tree. It's a cloud seeding flare tree on the ground. This is a cloud ionizer array. It creates negatively charged ions which travel up into clouds and cause it to rain. Also listed here is lasers, because lasers can be used to make rainfall from the ground. MCB is marine cloud brightening. That is a form of geoengineering which occurs on the ground. Why? Because marine cloud brightening is done off of boats in the ocean. It takes salt water, it sprays it into marine stratocumulus clouds to make them whiter, brighter, and reflect sunlight. All of that occurs on the ground. Cloud seeding. As you can see here, cloud seeding flares, 9,000 to 10,000 feet Okay, you kind of butchered that, Dom. I'm gonna have to get on your ass now. I put one. It was actually 1 to 10,000 feet, brother. Just to clarify, it says one. One. I erased the 9. I can see how you got that one wrong. Hey, this was really rushed. Okay, this is not some fancy Illuminati production team here. Literally, I make everything myself, my websites, all my research, and occasionally I call on my good buddy Dominic to pull me out of a pinch real quick. So it says 9. Let's just say it says 1 because everybody can figure out that 0.3 kilometers is 1,000 feet. Anyway, pretend that's a 1. So from 1 to 10,000 feet at maximum, that's where cloud seeding flares are used with propeller-driven planes. Generally speaking, almost exclusively. And you know what? Since I love my homeboy so much, I want to make sure you guys know who I'm talking about. Who am I talking about here? I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Dominic Marama from weathermodificationhistory.com, who made look at that beautiful face. Somebody marry this man and make him American. He needs to get out of Canada immediately. Dominic Marama, the man, the myth, legend, created the newspaper vault. Well, I created the newspaper vault. He created all the newspapers in it. And there's 849 now, I believe, with beautiful, big, beautiful images like Tesla's tidal wave to make war impossible from 1907. Literally 800 pages of artwork you cannot find anywhere else on the internet. Nobody comes close. Dominic, the man, the myth, the legend, Marama. Back to this. Why does this matter? Jim, why are you beating this dead horse? The reason I'm beating this dead horse is because there are individuals on the internet who've got you convinced that geoengineering is the freaking planes you're seeing making clouds. That is somewhat true, partially true. There are plans to do contrail avoidance or fly into ice supersaturated regions to intentionally create cooling contrails. Now, I've covered this on my article. We'll get into it in just a minute, but that's splitting hairs. What we really want to understand today is what are David Keith, Ken Caldera, and Bill Gates, what are these guys talking about when they say stratospheric aerosol injection? Because we're talking about two main types of geoengineering here: ground-based marine cloud brightening and stratospheric aerosol injection to reflect sunlight. Well, it looks like this. It's all the way up here at 70 to 90,000 feet. Now, there are no planes currently other than like the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 and the SR-72 that are even capable of flying that high. 70 to 90,000 feet, 21 to 27 kilometers up in the stratosphere. Why do they want to fly that high? Because the higher they fly, the longer the chemicals will stay up there, the less money they'll have to spend to loft one of 5 chemicals. One of 5. Not all of the crap you've heard on the internet. And they go in this order: sulfur, number 1. Aluminum, calcium, diamond dust, and titanium. Sulfur, aluminum, titanium, diamond dust, titanium. I got sulfur, aluminum, calcium, diamond dust, titanium. I've covered all these in depth for almost 20 freaking years. I have read every single paper that every geoengineer has ever put out, and I'm telling you, 5. There's some one-offs every now and then, but there have been 5 which have literally been narrowed down to 3 at this point: sulfur, calcium, diamond dust. Those are the main 3 they're focusing on, putting at 70 to 90,000 feet. Why? Because these chemicals, volcanoes are what originally prompted all this, and that is what they're trying to do: mimic artificial volcanoes. So when they say stratospheric aerosol injection, they're talking about up here, not over the border. So you may be wondering what this dotted line is. This is called the tropopause. The tropopause is the dividing line between the troposphere, where all of our weather occurs, and the stratosphere, where the ozone layer is, where the air is drier, where planes typically do not even make clouds. But their exhaust can contribute to stratospheric aerosol injection. It just doesn't last as long. Why? Because they're much lower. The closer to the ground you get, the less time the chemicals last in the air. So cloud seeding flares can generally only last a very short amount of time when they're doing weather modification. Ground-based cloud seeding generators, thinking like, Mount Everest, 7,000 feet at the most. Most ground-based cloud seeding generators are at the base of mountains, and the purpose is to loft snow to create snow on top of a mountain. So they don't make it up very far, and they immediately come down. Very localized. Still may have long-term effects downwind. Still not a lot of studies on that. But in the middle, we have something called aviation-induced cloudiness. That just means, that's a fancy word. If you put it into Google Scholar, that's a fancy word that basically means planes making clouds. Aviation-induced cloudiness. Another one, contrail-induced cirrus. I put both of these into the article, but I really wanted to illustrate this for you, and I couldn't. So I just called my boy Dom from Canada, and I was like, dude, I need you to do this real quick, just so that people can really visualize what we're talking about here before we get into the weeds, before we get into all the deets, so people can really understand what the hell I'm talking about. And I appreciate you coming through in a pinch. Dominic, the man, the myth, the legend, Marama, you are the freaking man. So why am I telling you all this? Because I wrote an article. It's up on SUBSTACK. It's currently in the freaking details, and we're going to go through this together because I want people to really understand this. I'm taking my time today because I am tired of the bull crap. I mean, the fear porn pushing, clickbait making, just propagandist on the internet. I've been called a shill more times than anybody I know in this area. Why? Because I dare say the word contrail. And you know what? I don't give a damn. This isn't about making a whole bunch of money. This isn't about being the most popular. This is about being right. This is about educating people so they can make a difference. I work a 9-to-5 job. I'm a security guard. Don't believe me? This is my work bag. This is my security guard badge, and that's my gun. This is what I do for a living. 40 hours a freaking week. I'm a freaking security guard in a government building. You know what that means? That means I don't have a criminal record. I'm trustworthy, and people trust me with a gun to protect other people's lives. And I do that 40 hours a week. So when you come at me with Jim's an Illuminati shill, I'm pretty sure the Illuminati doesn't use freaking AC units in their window in a double wide trailer. Just saying. I've heard all your bullshit, people. I've heard it all. It bounces off me like I'm freaking Superman, and the bullets just bing, 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 bing. I've heard it all. Don't even care at this point. So, at this point, we're going to go into the deets, because that's really all that matters. Banning chemtrails, how to win. State laws can ban weather modification, but geoengineering is a different beast. Here's why. All right, folks. I'm just going to read some of this to you, because this has to be one of the best articles I ever wrote. I must say, if I do say so myself, and I do. Let's cut through the haze and talk straight. If you're one of those people who've been squinting at the sky, pointing at contrails and yelling chemtrails, I get it. I've been there. Seriously. I was you in 2012. I've spent years digging into the mess and poring over a Freedom of Information Act request documents and to screaming at the EPA in 2015 about aviation pollution, check my speech. You're not crazy to be suspicious. There's real stuff going on up there. But here's the deal. Passing state laws to stop weather modification, totally doable and even enforceable. Banning geoengineering like stratospheric aerosol injection, that's a feel-good move, a loud, we're mad as hell signal, but it's toothless when it comes to enforcement. Let me break it down for you using evidence I've piled up over a decade to show you why aviation pollution's real fight we can win. Now, for those who don't remember this, I want to do a little refresher for you. Jim Lee travels to D.C. Let's go, chat. Drop that bass. Hi, my name is James Lee. I'm from Sumter, South Carolina. I'm a citizen. Why is the EPA claiming that 6 greenhouse gases emitted from jet planes are a threat to human health under the Clean Air Act while doing nothing to address ongoing lawsuits over leaded aviation gasoline or the real health concerns of stakeholders worldwide? Cancer-causing heavy metals in fuels and their additives and aviation-induced cloudiness. You, the EPA, claim the authority to regulate aviation emissions under the Clean Air Act, a law that should protect us from the aforementioned poisonous pollution. However, the definition of pollution is being perverted to mean climate change gases in what can only be called a violation of the spirit of the law. Air pollution which may reasonably be anticipated to endanger public health or welfare. That's the quote. As you can see by the wording in the Clean Air Act, lead, barium, aluminum, and trade secret toxic chemicals clearly present a greater danger to public health than greenhouse gases, no matter how much climate science you accumulate. Furthermore, material safety data sheets of aviation fuel and their additives almost always contain the same warning: do not dump in water. Yet, raw fuel dumping or burning these dangerous chemicals and then dumping them in water is somehow safe. Finally, despite great efforts to find bioaccumulation or biomagnification studies on precipitated aviation pollutants, none seem to exist. The EPA and Obama administration are ignoring the global outrage over the most visible climate change concern from airplanes: cloud creation. Do a search for the word chemtrails on the internet, and you will see millions of concerned citizens who look up and wonder, what in the world are they spraying? Despite what you may think of the myriad of maladies attributed to these clouds, the global outrage is nonetheless clear. They are right to be worried, and we should all be concerned. The EPA's claim that CO2 is a greater threat to human health than contrails and aviation-induced cloudiness is based on incomplete IPCC data that downplays the effects of contrails on our climate. The IPCC's fourth assessment of contrail radiative forcing only accounted for linear contrails, meaning any contrail that spreads out and turns into cirrus clouds was not accounted for. How significant is this heat-trapping contrail conundrum? Quote, contrails formed by aircraft can evolve into cirrus clouds indistinguishable from those formed naturally.
These spreading contrails may be causing more climate warming today than all the carbon dioxide emitted by aircraft since the start of aviation. Another researcher stated a single aircraft operating in conditions favorable for persistent contrail formation appears to exert a contrail-induced radiative forcing some 5,000 times greater than the estimates of the average persistent contrail radiative forcing from the entire civil aviation fleet.
Totally lost my place on the page. I'm like, what?
Although this research has now been incorporated into the IPCC computer models and revised down, in my opinion, these claims highlight gaping holes in climate science. As of 2013, quote, aerosol cloud interactions are one of the main uncertainties in climate research. Scientific understanding of how contrails transition into cirrus clouds is severely lacking but rapidly evolving, with the latest research showing that cirrus clouds are filled with metal aerosols from human sources. Quote, the big one we found is lead, coming from things like tetraethyl lead in fuels, still used today in light aviation. So that's probably the biggest metal that we find, or the most frequent metal that we find, but we find a whole host of different metals actually. Apparently, small amounts of metal particulates have major effects on cirrus clouds. Quote, it would seem that you would have to change all of the aerosol in the atmosphere very radically to get a big effect on the clouds, but because mineral dust and metallic particles are such a small amount of the particulate matter, just a % or two, it means that you only have to change about a % or two of the particles to get a big effect on these clouds. The latest research casts doubts on the IPCC's contrail assumptions and requires serious consideration when addressing the real climate change impact of aviation. High-altitude metals in cirrus cloud condensation nuclei are likely coming from leaded avgas and jet exhaust. Contrails are making cirrus clouds, and small changes in atmospheric metal have large impacts on cirrus cloud creation. Cirrus clouds trap heat and are likely to have a greater climate change impact than CO2. Finally, aviation-induced cloudiness endangers future growth in solar energy, affects tourism and spending, and is projected to make terrestrial astronomy impossible by 2050. Geoengineering scientists, NASA, NOAA, FAA, USDA, DOE, and international corporate partners are discussing the use of biofuels and sulfur-doped jet fuels for contrail control. This cirrus cloud seeding with bismuth triiodide to melt these clouds away. The EPA should be directly involved in these discussions. As a result of these recent findings, I strongly encourage the EPA to consider expanding the scope of this endangerment to include metal particulates and cloud formation from jet exhaust.
Cloud formation.
If the EPA complies with the spirit of the Clean Air Act, they will protect us from metal aerosols attributed to Alzheimer's, autism, cancer, and a plethora of other debilitating illnesses. If the EPA is truly concerned about aviation-induced climate change, they will regulate the production of contrails and cirrus clouds, which change our climate to a much greater extent than the sum of the 6 greenhouse gases named in this proposal. Regulating heavy metals and aviation-induced cloudiness will be meaningless without proper verification. Even though ICAO members sign a binding agreement to only use certain chemicals in their gas tanks, we all know agreements and regulations are useless without proper verification. Therefore, I request mandatory, random testing of jet exhaust be immediately implemented. This is the most important step the EPA can take to do its due diligence to protect us from harm.
And just there, I said spirit of the law a second time, and C-SPAN muted me the second time I said it. That's not an editing trick. I said the spirit of the law, the Clean Air Act. And when I said it, it cut out. Just saying, I didn't do it, C-SPAN did it, and that's sus.
Harmful pollution and get real-world are useless without proper verification. Therefore, I request mandatory, random testing of jet exhaust be immediately implemented. This is the most important step the EPA can take to do its due diligence to protect us from harmful pollution, and get real-world data to improve future regulations. Most of the data behind this endangerment finding comes from research in highly controlled environments where most variables are known. We need verification of non-ideal situations where fuel fouling, FAME contamination, or improper maintenance end in vastly different exhaust particulates than seen in lab settings.
Now, I know that seems really sciencey to a lot of you, but FAME contamination is fatty acid methyl ester, and that is where biofuels contaminate jet fuel lines and lead to flame out conditions. Engines have actually cut off as a result of this. Look up FAME, F-A-M-E, contamination, and you'll understand what I was talking about 10 years ago. This is 10 years ago. I said it would take 3 years for people to figure out what the hell I just said. We're 10 years later, almost. August of this year will be 10 years. And people still don't know what the hell I was talking about back then. That is sad. That is truly sad.
To achieve verification, I propose that the EPA randomly attach a trailing probe to both foreign and domestic flights, then collect and analyze the results to determine real-world exhaust constituents.
Just so you know, the European Union is now, in the last year, doing exactly what I said. Attaching probes to planes to test their exhaust constituents and monitor for contrail production. Look it up. European Union Contrail Observation Network. I suggested it 10 years ago. They're just getting to it. But only Europe, not in America.
Alternatively, ground-based LiDAR observations may be possible over fixed high-traffic areas and prevent possible terrorist attacks using aerosols. Either way you choose, we need verification and protection. In conclusion, the EPA should expand this endangerment to include metal aerosols and cloud creation, create a verification system that includes all aircraft, protects us from aviation pollution, holds violators accountable, and commits to better scientific accuracy for future determinations. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of so many who could not be here. And thank you for listening to a layperson's views on this subject. While I appreciate the efforts of the Center for Biological Diversity, the Sierra Group, and the Friends of the Earth to get the EPA to hold the aviation industry accountable, the poor people like myself have to live near these airports, under these fuel dumps, and under these clouded skies. I hope that some faith can be restored in our EPA by your action here and now. Tell the ICAO that they will meet your demands and our demands, not the other way around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you for all of your comments. Second panel.
And I brought 4 of my friends with me. Michael Saraceno, Amanda Bays, and then Patrick Roddy. For those who have been in this fight long enough, you know these names. Patrick Roddy, Stop Spraying Us San Francisco, and finally, the man, the myth, the legend, Max Bliss, who literally drops the most sick mic drop in EPA history.
Effects aviation is having, and research the spiraling health impacts. Just start looking up and wake up. With climate change is man-made. By using covert weather and climate modification technology known as geoengineering for geopolitical ends. We do not need to be scientists to observe the sky and see the obvious negative effects aviation is having, and research the spiraling health impacts. Just start looking up and wake up. We do not consent to the use of weather and climate modification or the despotic New World Order. God bless.
New World Order, baby! Yeah! And that's Max Bliss. Oh, man. And that was like one of the best days of my life. traveling up there and giving the EPA hell. And do you know that there are fools on the internet who are still saying to this day that I'm the EPA shill for going there and telling them about their ass. And the reason I did it was because of the Clean Air Act. I was like Raphael up in Washington, D.C., whooping that ass, dropping science, and they had no idea what to do about it. Now, why do I bring up this video and the Clean Air Act? Because it just so happens that, and you cannot make this up, and I warned you. I freaking warned you. I said it's the fatal flaw. Tennessee's chemtrail ban's fatal flaw. Here we go. Tennessee says it can't enforce chemtrail ban because federal Clean Air Act enforced by FAA and EPA won't let them. Shout out John Fleetwood. I linked it in my article just to make sure everybody saw it. So that video is in here. If you guys don't have the link, please share the link to the article. Read the article. Let people know about this. Most people have no clue about this topic. They really don't know what they're talking about. And that's the sad truth 10 years after having that. So I'm gonna do a little bit more reading for you. I'm gonna bring this over here. First off, let's clear the air, pun intended. Weather modification like cloud seeding with silver iodide or dry ice is old school tech. It's been around since the 1940s. It's local, tangible, and usually ground-based or low-altitude stuff, which I showed you in the graphic earlier. It's close to the ground. It's not at the same altitude as the planes you're seeing overhead making clouds. In fact, cloud seeding from ground-based cloud seeding generators or hygroscopic or glaciogenic ice flares, iceflares.com, go look it up. Those flares cannot create clouds. They actually only put particles into clouds to make more rain. So they don't make clouds. States can regulate that. They can regulate weather modification. If you ban weather modification in a state, there is no federal law that will stop you from doing that. So, have at it. Do it. I hate it. You hate it. We all hate it. Let's agree on that. Cool. We're all in agreement. That's a solid move against secret cloud seeding operations or military experiments. Because guess what? The military also engages in cloud seeding. They did it in Operation Popeye and weather warfare in Vietnam. They did it over Cuba, over the Gulf of America, to make sure that the clouds going to Cuba had no rain whatsoever. That's actually called overseeding. So cloud seeding is the only technique that has been used as a weapon of war in weather modification to this day that we know about. So, like the ones I exposed in my piece on military experiments on an unsuspecting folks. So, for those who say Jim Lee, big time shill, doesn't really talk about, government programs, you haven't read this. This was from November 17th, 2013. And it's about, it was a conspiracy, military experiments on unsuspecting public. Like the weather warfare in Operation Popeye, Operation Ranch Hand, where they used over 19 million gallons of rainbow agents. It wasn't just Agent Orange. It was many different things. Bug warfare, like dropping, all kinds of mosquitoes and ticks and fleas and things like that on people. And then radioactive particles, like Operation Large Area Coverage, which was part of a bigger conspiracy. It was a Manhattan Project spinoff, which has been referred to as the Manhattan-Rochester Coalition. And in it, as we can see here in the graphics here, these are all of the toxic U.S. Army Chemical Corps zinc cadmium sulfide sprayings that happened all across the United States in secret. So whenever I'm telling you, let's work on the things that we can prove today, like aviation-induced cloudiness. Let's deal with the Clean Air Act. Let's deal with the problem. Nobody's realizing that I am fully aware of this. I'm just not willing to wait around for this to come out. Because as you can see here, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, that's where I live. My dad was 2 years old when this happened. That was when Project Do 1 was done, and it says right here, 630 kilograms of zinc cadmium sulfide was sprayed on approximately 98 to 100,000, less than 100,000 square miles. I'm not cool with that. Nobody's cool with that. And this is the entire list that we know about of all of the secret government sprayings that occurred during this. Subcommittee on Zinc Cadmium Sulfide Sprayings Across America. Summary of Major Events and Problems, U.S. Army Chemical Corps. So I've done my homework on this. I am fully aware that there are secret government programs. And that's why I linked it in here. States have the muscle to enforce that under their police powers. Think permits, inspections, fines. If you see planes flying overhead, dumping chemicals out of the back, or you're able to catch those chemicals and take them to a lab and you can prove it, you're able to do something about that. You're able to go kick their butt in court. You're able to sue them for damage. That's not what's going on. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's catching these people. That's a problem. That is seriously a problem. So, when you look at this, look at Idaho's Senate Bill 1065 or Florida's Senate Bill 56. They're pushing transparency or bans on weather modification. It's practical, boots on the ground lawmaking. Now, geoengineering, that's a whole nother monster. Stratospheric aerosol injection. SAI isn't clouds or low altitude soot. It's pumping sulfur dioxide or fancy nanoparticles, aluminum, calcium, diamond dust, or titanium into the stratosphere 70 to 90,000 feet up to whiten the sky to reflect sunlight. Think Mount Pinatubo vibes, like the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991, but on purpose, intentionally. That's the intentional part that's in the Tennessee ban. With intent, with the express purpose of reflecting sunlight. That's geoengineering. Everything else they call accidental. We'll get to that. David Key's crew has been drooling over this idea for years. See his 2010 paper on photophoretic levitation. Links are all in the article. Like, if you guys really want to understand this, all of the blue links, click them, read them, come back to the article, continue. You'll get it before you get to the end. Promise. And you'll be able to back up everything you're saying and not sound like a drooling, knuckle-dragging idiot when you go into a court of law or talk to your legislator and you want to do something about this. That's the purpose of this. Winning. It's about freaking winning. I want more winning. I want us to put an end to this. And we've got to be able to, really understand what the hell these terms mean and how this is not going to work. It has not worked so far. Why do you expect it to work? That's the main problem. Do you want this honey bunny? Please bring it back. She took my drink. It's global scale, high altitude, and here's the kicker, way beyond state jurisdiction. Tennessee's laws sound tough, but planes at 35,000 feet dropping soot and sulfur, that's aviation pollution, not stratospheric aerosol injection. It's untouchable by the states thanks to federal law. So we're going to do a real quick history, a very abridged history lesson on geoengineering. 1965, restoring the quality of our environment, suggested raising albedo or reflectivity of the Earth could help combat unwanted changes in climate caused by increased greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. 1974, Soviet climatologist Mikhail Budiko, I love that name, Budiko. I'm probably pronouncing it right, but it sounds funny to me. Budiko. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, suggests that the threat of global warming could be countered by using airplanes to inject sulfur, like I said, number one, sulfur. Sulfate aerosols into the stratosphere. This idea, stratospheric aerosol injection, is also known as Budiko's blanket. 1974. 1977, U.S. National Academy of Sciences addresses more blah, 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 make it reflective stuff. No practical, plausible, and reliable means to accomplish such an increase seems to be at hand. So they kind of like poo-pooed the idea. But then Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991, and global temperatures dropped by about 0.5 degrees Celsius, 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit over the following year, providing new evidence that stratospheric aerosol could temporarily lower global temperatures. Why is that? That is because when the explosion occurred, it actually entered the stratosphere. It was such a big volcano that it ejected massive amounts of sulfur way up into the stratosphere. And that cooled the planet slightly, briefly. Look into the year without a summer. That's a thing. Anyway, back to the storyline here. Nobel Prize winner Paul Crutzen publishes a scientific essay digging into the potential of stratospheric aerosol injection to combat global warming. The essay helps break a taboo around the study of solar geoengineering. They totally skip over the 1997 through 2001 papers from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory with Lowell Wood, Roderick Hyde, and Edward Teller, which Ken Caldera was a part of the second paper. But the real push after 1991 came from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and then Paul Crutzen signed off on the idea, and then they were off to the races. NASA co-sponsors Solar Radiation Management Workshop to identify what policymakers might need to know to make informed decisions about using stratospheric aerosol injection and similar techniques to combat climate change. The Stratospheric Particle Injection for Climate Engineering SPICE project was launched in 2009, but they got their butts kicked by the ETC group, Geoengineering-Monitor.org, not Geoengineering Watch, Geoengineering-Monitor.org. The ETC group shut down the SPICE project. In 2019, Harvard's researchers, very generic, I've got this from a website. Harvard researchers means David Keith and Frank Koich from the Harvard Solar Geoengineering Research Program. I like to be specific. These articles you read on the internet, they're fly-by-wire. They don't want to tell you all the deeds. I like the deeds. They matter to me. They should matter to you. So I'm going to tell them to you. So let me rephrase. David Keith and Frank Koich from Harvard Solar Geoengineering Project tried to launch an experiment to how particles can reflect material calcium carbonate. I told you, sulfur, calcium, aluminum, titanium, diamond dust. So David Keith in 2019 with his SCOPEX stratospheric controlled perturbation experiment generates backlash and is officially abandoned in 2024 before any field tests are done. Once again, David Keith got his butt kicked by ETC Group, Geoengineering-Monitor.org. Hands off Mother Earth. They've stopped 4 geoengineering projects to date. Nobody else has. Nobody. Just ETC Group and their collective of NGOs. Meanwhile, everybody else on the internet's like, but we're going to stop the geoengineering. 0 for 0. ETC group 4-0 knockouts. Anyway, UK researcher Andrew Lockley reportedly sends a balloon containing sulfur dioxide in the stratosphere where it bursts. MIT Technology Review, which breaks the story in 2023, says the experiment may be the first intentional deployment of a gas into the stratosphere as a part of a geoengineering-related effort. No paper on the experiment has yet been published. That's because Andrew is the forum moderator for Ken Caldero's geoengineering Google group, and Andrew Lockley called his experiment, which they did not mention in the infographic either, which you can read on ClimateViewer.substack.com. Right there, go to connect.climateviewer.com, go to my Substack, and read all about the project called Satan. That's right, Andrew Lockley's geoengineering project was called Satan, Stratospheric Aerosol Transport and Nucleation. You can't make this stuff up. I have Andrew's phone number. I'll probably text him after this and be like, yeah, I kind of broke your balls a little bit again in a video. But, I mean, you asked for it. You called it Satan. What'd you expect? And then finally, what I've been seeing at all of these hearings that they're having at the states, people hold this one up as proof that geoengineering is occurring, that somehow planes that don't exist are all the way up at 70 to 90,000 feet, putting up reflected particles. The White House, the Biden White House, Office of Science and Technology Policy released a 5-year research plan for studying stratospheric aerosol and other forms of SRM. The other forms of SRM are marine cloud brightening and cirrus cloud thinning. Why is that important? Because I'm telling you that planes make cirrus clouds, and because cirrus clouds trap heat at the ground, a geoengineering proposal is called cirrus cloud thinning to melt them away. I mentioned that during the EPA hearing in 2015, if you caught that part. Melting cirrus clouds away with bismuth triiodide. Cirrus cloud seeding or cirrus cloud thinning. Look it up. It's a thing. And it was in that report. Nobody read the report. They're all just holding it up in their state legislature like, this is proof of geoengineering. They didn't read it. But most people don't read, so I can't really hold that against them. Anyway, as a result of Make Sunsets, the startup using balloons to cool the planet, MakeSunsets.com, as a result of their shenanigans in Baja California, Mexico banned geoengineering. Quote, Mexico has not set a date for implementing its geoengineering ban, a spokeswoman for the environmental ministry said, and it's unclear what effect a ban might have. Dr. David Keith argues a ban is unenforceable. What the hell is he talking about? Why is David Keith saying that a ban is unenforceable? You can write legislation that says you can't put sulfur into the stratosphere since every commercial flight does that. He told Reuters. Link to original article, link to geoengineering. Wrong button. Crap, now I really screwed it up. Let me get out of full screen. It's right here. Mexico bans Make Sunsets rogue geoengineering. And you can see down here at the bottom, this is the actual ban right here. Experimentation with solar geoengineering will not be allowed in Mexico. Link to the original on that. Company details on Make Sunsets. This is Make Sunsets. This is the balloons they're creating. This is Luke Eisman. This is Andrew Song. He's got a mouth on him. You should have heard him cussing out the other geoengineers the other day. That was hilarious. Shout out to Andrew Song. You made me laugh, bro. And this is the NOAA Form 17-4, in which they filled out the report that is required by law in order to do weather modification in the United States, where they literally said, we're going to reduce the average global temperature, location, all of Earth, size of area, 196,900,000 square miles, starting February 12th, 2023, ending March 23rd, 2223. Yes, that's right. 200 years from now, they're going to stop geoengineering. If you want to make fun of the government, this is how you do it. You literally fill out the form on your partner's back and then send it into the government and laugh your way to the bank while you make money throwing balloons in the air. That really honestly happened. You cannot make it up. So David Keith actually makes an excellent point here, that even though Mexico banned geoengineering, even though they have a ban on the books, how can they stop it? Because really, at the end of the day, geoengineering is a world problem. So if somebody does do geoengineering and they violate their national law, this is not even a state law. We're talking about the whole nation of Mexico. What are they going to do about it? If you block sunlight over Mexico, what can Mexico do about it? Are they going to sanction you? Are they going to send fighter planes to your home? Are they going to shoot bombs at you? Because if not, nobody cares that you banned anything. And that's the truth. And on top of it, jet exhaust, burning jet fuel, puts sulfur into the stratosphere anytime a plane flies above the tropopause. That's the point. That was the whole point of this graphic. The point is that if any plane flying above the tropopause, which has an average height of anywhere from 42,000 feet around the equator to as low as around, say, 37,000 feet near the North Pole, but it varies from day to day and from location to location. When Jeff and I were looking at radiosonde data, we actually saw the tropopause as low as 25,000 feet. Meaning that every single plane flying through that day was not creating contrails, was not creating cirrus clouds that block out the sky, and all of its exhaust was going into the stratosphere. You cannot make this stuff up. That's why it matters. That's why it matters. So the Clean Air Act, Uncle Sam's big stick. Here's where the rubber meets the runway. The Clean Air Act, Section 233, 42 U.S.C. 7573 says loud and clear, and you can see that it's linked right here, that no state or political subdivision thereof may adopt or attempt to enforce any standards respecting emissions of any air pollutant from any aircraft or engine thereof, unless the such standard is identical to a standard applicable to such aircraft under the federal statute, which is the Clean Air Act, which is regulated by the Department of Transportation, which has been pushed off from the DOT to the FAA. So between the EPA, which enforces the Clean Air Act, which you can see here, here's the Clean Air Act, and it's long, bro. It's real long. But this is the section we're talking about right here. Air Pollution Prevention and Control, Chapter 85. These are the standards that are stopping you from being able to deal with planes farting in the sky and making clouds that block out the sun. That is why Tennessee cannot even enforce its own chemtrail ban. That is why I went and testified at the EPA in 2015, because it was specifically about the Clean Air Act. That's why I was there. In 2015, I knew this then. People still don't get it today. So translation, states can't touch aviation pollution or the cirrus clouds those contrails spawn. I hammered this point in my 2018 piece on accidental geoengineering. If you guys have never read this, this was actually published on MIT's ClimateX website. MIT University, yeah, that university. And it was the most popular article on their site, which they promptly deleted after it got the most shares and the most views on their website. Here's the original link, climatex.mit.edu/accidental geoengineering ship tracks and contrails. And I literally broke it down like none other, showing the ship tracks, showing the contrails, and showing the BS that they're trying to tell you. Planes crisscrossing, excuse me, planes crisscrossing Tennessee skies, leaving persistent contrails that spread into cirrus clouds. That's not stratospheric aerosol injection. It's aviation-induced cloudiness. Don't believe me? Take a look at Google Scholar. That's right. 10,200 results. World War II contrails. A case study in aviation-induced cloudiness. Aviation produced aerosols and cloudiness, 1999, Ulrich Schumann. If you don't know who Ulrich Schumann is, and you don't know about this term, then honestly, you don't know anything about this topic. You might as well hang it up. And definitely don't try to challenge me to a debate on this, because you literally have done zero research into this subject. Zero. If you don't know who Ulrich Schumann is, the leading scientist on the planet. I want to take a break for a moment just to put a thought experiment out here. One of the problems that we have right now is the COVID. So because of the COVID, we had all these people, and I'm not going to like self-censor myself like all these other silly ass YouTubers. Because of the COVID activists, they were making a lot of money, and they were putting out a lot of, clickbaity titles. And now nobody cares about it anymore. So now we've got all these health freedom nuts who are jumping on the chemtrail bandwagon. And they're wanting to lead the charge into fighting chemtrails, and let's pass some laws and ban the chemtrails. Oh yeah, it's called geoengineering. I know all about it. You don't know nothing. You don't have no business even being in this fight till you get educated. I wouldn't come in and try to tell you all about mRNA and all these things, because I just generally didn't care. Nobody in my family took it. I didn't allow it. And we didn't participate, and there were very little mandates or restrictions in South Carolina. So it was a non-issue for us. We didn't participate. Yeah, we got it, and we got over it. But you medical freedom freaks that are all jumping on the bandwagon and think that you can come into this area and change the world without doing your homework first, you're part of the problem. So I'm going to suggest that you start doing some research. And I've built all of this stuff specifically for that. It is like a free college education course on the entire history of weather modification, geoengineering, even space weather modification, when things like HARP, sounding rockets, things you've never heard about. You can learn it all if you are willing to take the time and learn it. And then, after you've learned about it, make a decision about how to deal with it. I'm helping you out today on specifically one topic. Dim chemtrails. My chemtrails. That's all I ever hear about. Nobody cares about any of the other stuff that I talk about half the time. The Johnny and Jenny come latelys. my wife's in chat. Thank you for the reminder, honey. Killy Bear. That's my Killy Bear. You know what? I should make her a moderator, just so she has a blue glowing name and she stands out like a sore thumb. Should I do that, chat? Let me know. Should I make my wife a mod so she shows up and glows? Anyway, let's get back to it, because this video is going to be super long. But hey, anything worth learning is worth taking a little time to do it. And I'm willing to take the time with you guys tonight, because I really want you to understand this point that I'm trying to make to you. And I know a lot of people will not read this article. So I'm going to explain it. I want to explain it in simple terms. I mean, it's self-explanatory. It's one of the best articles I ever wrote. Thank you, Grok. I fed everything I've ever learned or written into Grok. And then I said, Grok, now take everything that I've learned and turn it into something beautiful. And then I had to edit it, obviously, but still, it wrote it as if I wrote it, which is amazing. So I approve this message. Brought to you by Grok. Shout out to Grok. So 10,000 different results on Google Scholar for the terms aviation-induced cloudiness and the other term contrail-induced cirrus. Another 4,490 peer-reviewed journal entries on just that topic. Jim Haywood, another really big one. Patrick Menace. I know most of these names. Like I've read these. Ulrich Burkhardt. Ulrich Schumann again. Contrail Cirrus. Literally, that's just the title of it from 2002. You got to know these terms if you're ever going to find this stuff. Okay? Okay. Everybody says I should make her a mod so she glows. Honey, I'm coming for you right now. Where are you at? Oh, let's go get her, chat. Let's go get her. Banning chemtrails, go here. And let's mute that and go track her down. Where's she at? There she is. Keely Burr. Add a moderator. I'll make her a managing moderator so she can mod all the other mods. Booyah. Now she glows. He doesn't want to get trolled by the wifey. Is that Caroline? I swear. Caroline, are you pretending to be your mom? No? Okay. Oh, Lord. Everybody in the house is involved tonight. I like it. I like it a lot. Anyway, so this is what the government and the scientists think of you. This is what they think of us whenever you say chemtrails. They say artificial clouds. Technocrats have decided to replace natural cloud formation with technological fixes dubbed accidental geoengineering, ship tracks, and aircraft contrail-induced cirrus clouds. MIT Technology Review, talking about the ban on bunker fuel. We're about to kill a massive accidental experiment in reducing global warming. Geoengineering. Accidental geoengineering experiment with ship tracks. MIT Technology Review. Smithsonian Magazine. Airplane contrails may be creating accidental geoengineering. Dissipating haze from plane exhaust alters how sunlight reaches the earth and may be unintentionally affecting our climate. How about them apples? So, while everybody else seems to think this is not a thing, it's not geoengineering. It is geoengineering, but it's not geoengineering. It's accidental geoengineering. They won't ever admit that it's intentional geoengineering because you can't prove it's intentional geoengineering. Why does that matter? Because that's exactly what the frickin' Tennessee law says. It bans intentional geoengineering with the express purpose of blocking sunlight. But a plane flying a bunch of boxes from Amazon.com because you bought a bunch of crap off the internet and it's being shipped to you, you bought them chemtrails. And it's not flying with the express purpose of blocking sunlight. So under the Clean Air Act, that's a pollution problem. When are we going to treat it like a pollution problem? We're just talking about the law here, people. How do you actually deal with this problem? So what about the 10th Amendment, you say? How many people even know what the 10th Amendment is? It's the Supremacy Clause. I was literally on a Zoom call last Tuesday with Monty Fritz, who's the representative that passed this law in Tennessee. And I asked Monty Fritz specifically, what about states' 10th Amendment rights? How does it pertain to the geoengineering ban you all passed? And he said, it's a great argument, but so far we're losing it. Quote, Tennessee's 10th Amendment flex, states' rights to protect their people, sounds noble. I've argued for it myself in my 2017 anti-geoengineering law piece, talking about Rhode Island's, one of the very first states' bans on geoengineering, which was written by Jolie Diane from zerogeoengineering.com. And I said then, it's not going to work because they have the supremacy clause. But the supremacy clause says federal law trumps state law when they clash. The Clean Air Act's preemption is ironclad. John Fleetwood's SUBSTACK post nails it. Tennessee admits its ban can't touch planes. So, those cirrus clouds keep forming, sunlight keeps dimming, and states' hands are tied. How do we know this is true? Well, let's just hop over to windy.com and actually look right now. You can go to Tennessee at this very moment, and you can look at either the radiosonde data or what's called the Contrail Finder plugin. Pretty neat little tool. You can literally just come up here to the top, hit Install Windy Plugin, scroll down till you find Contrail Finder, install it, and then click on it, and then click on the map. And guess what it'll do? It'll tell you exactly where contrails will form. You don't have to be scientists to do this. This is based on the Schmidt-Appelman criterion. It tells you what the relative humidity over here. It tells you the feet off the ground, the HPA, the degrees Celsius, relative humidity, and the Appelman criterion right here. So this is a detailed analysis of what those numbers are. You don't have to be a nerd like me to understand them. And hell, I don't understand them as well as Jeff. Jeff's my meteorologist buddy. He's teaching me more and more about this. But you can see the check marks right here. That is definitely meeting the contrail persistence necessity of the Appelman chart. And you can see just up here at the top, it tells you very clearly, 38,000 feet, short contrails possible. In fact, according to chemtrail people, short contrails are the only contrails. But at 37,000 feet, longer contrails possible, and from 36,000 to 34,000 feet, long, possibly persistent contrails. Persistent meaning they spread out and they make cirrus clouds that block out the sun. You can do this yourself. Alternatively, you can, I'm hitting the wrong button. You can go to the radiosonde data and you can look at the actual radiosonde data yourself. This is where I started out, is actually reading the charts. These are the weather balloons they throw up into the air, and as they go up, they chart the relative humidity, the dew point depression is what it's called, in the blue line, and the temperature on the red line. Now what you'll see is, generally speaking, it says right here, 56 degrees Fahrenheit, 46, 31, 21, 15, 8, 0. Now we're at negative 9 degrees Fahrenheit at 22,000 feet. We're at negative 35 degrees Fahrenheit right here at 29,000 feet at negative 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? But then suddenly at negative 65 degrees Fahrenheit at 36,000 feet, 998, so 37,000 feet, then it starts to go the other way. It starts to warm up. And it goes from negative 65 to negative 59 right here. And finally, negative 65 again back up here. This is the inversion layer. This is a way for you to tell where the tropopause is, like we showed you in that picture earlier. Another good example of that, I saw a pretty one earlier that was right here, I believe, which is very clear. Now, everything in this area, because they're so close together, all of that is definitely within the Schmidt-Appelman criterion because they're very close together. So anything flying through anywhere from, we're talking 18,000 feet all the way up to right about 36,000 feet. All of that's definitely going to form clouds. So you need to have an idea on how to read these. Jeff M right now in chat, as you guys can see, that's Jeff. M is for meteorologism. Jeff's my man. He's going to teach me again what I think it's total condensation, CCL, LCL. I'm going to have to take the whole contrail education class again from Jeff to really do this. It normally starts out like this. You check the little box right here. It goes to the skew T-plot, which I like a lot better. And then you can actually see altitudes and all of that stuff. But to keep it simple, stupid, to make everybody's life easier, I suggest you try... why did I not change it? I swear my tab control just don't want to work. So again, same location. I'm going to come up here, and we were right here. This is the Aberdeen. So if I click right next to it, you can see 33,000 feet, short contrails possible, 31,000 feet, long persistent contrails, all the way down 28,000, 27,000. What did I just show you over here? All the way down, so right here at about 27,000 feet, negative 39 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 45 on the dew point depression. Yeah, that's going to make some clouds. And if you want to learn this stuff, that's how you got to learn it. You got to learn all the deets that go along with it. Anyway, that's the problem. Tennessee admits its band cannot touch the plains, so cirrus clouds keep forming, sunlight keeps dimming, and the state's hands are tied. Because like I just showed you, right now in Tennessee, despite their ban, they're covered in chemtrails. I could go to the Ramby slider and show them to you right now. Should I do that, Jeff? Let me know in chat. But I want to try to get through the rest of this article. Contrails aren't stratospheric aerosol injections. Stop mixing them up. Let's get this straight. Contrails forming. Oh, damn it. Here we go again. Contrails turning into cirrus clouds ain't the same as stratospheric aerosol injection whitening the stratosphere. Contrails happen at roughly 30 to 40,000 feet when jet exhaust hit ice supersaturated air. Basic physics I've been dissected in my Cirrus Clouds Matter hub. They spread, trap heat at night, cool by day. NASA proved it after 9/11 when flights stopped and the temps dropped. See my 2001 history on 9/11, 2001, when the Twin Towers fell. They grounded all flights for 3 days, and the diurnal temperature range greatly widened. This led to the discovery that, damn it, I just opened up Photoshop. Didn't mean to do that. Let's open that in Photos instead. That would be nice. Thank you very much. Open with Photos. All right, there we go. So I'll show you this graphic real quick. Right here. So the problem we have is that they learned that outgoing long wave radiation is trapped at the surface, that some of the sunlight is reflected. This is the solar radiation management part, reflecting sunlight back into space. But the problem is that the clouds they make are ice and metals, and these ice clouds created by planes trap heat at the ground. Ulrich Schumann said in 2010, we want less warming, more cooling contrails predictable for operational planning. When I interviewed Dr. Rangasai Halthori, head of the biofuels for contrail control, he said, we would like to have more contrail-induced cirrus clouds during the day and none during the night. Ulrich Lohmann and Blas Gasparini in 2017, talking about cirrus cloud thinning, the geoengineering proposal to deal with the chemtrails everybody's complaining about, those cirrus clouds, a cirrus cloud climate dial. If the time and place of seeding is selected with care, the climate effect of cirrus thinning can be enhanced. For that, only long-wave warming effect of cirrus clouds should be targeted, and their solar effect should be avoided. Solar, reflected. Long-wave warming effect, Earth radiation management, trapping heat at the ground. They want to get rid of this part and keep this part. And their solar effect should be avoided because they want to turn contrails that turn into cirrus into geoengineering. This can be achieved if seeding, cirrus cloud seeding, or cirrus cloud thinning is limited to high latitude winters or nighttime seeding. So cirrus cloud seeding, cirrus cloud seeding or cirrus cloud thinning near the poles in the winter or at night is most effective at getting rid of the ability for them to trap heat at the surface while continuing to reflect sunlight away. These are the kinds of details you're not going to get anywhere else. I made this infographic. That's how I know it. I could show you an even more complicated one real quick, since we're right here and we have it up. Wrong way. No, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. All right, so, and this guy, let's zoom it in some. So this is the much more complicated version of what all's going on up here. Climate forcings of global aviation emissions, exhaust plume, no contrail formation, soot, warming. Warming from global accumulation of carbon dioxide and water vapor, sulfate and soot, direct radiative effects, possible ice cloud, changes from soot, nitrous oxide emissions lead to warming, reflected solar radiation, contrail plume, trapping heat at the ground, warming from contrail cirrus, like I just pointed out in the other infographic, and then sulfate aerosols, reflectivity of low altitude clouds from shipping. They got a ship right there, like international shipping, like marine cloud brightening. This is a very complicated process. Right here, this dotted line, that is the tropopause. They showed the stratosphere above, the troposphere below. The clouds are in the troposphere. They are not in the stratosphere. That is for a reason. You have to understand the difference. So, yeah, I guess we covered that. Back to the thing. Let's try to rip through this pretty quickly. Okay. So, in the end of the day, that's pollution. Sure, carbon black, soot, metals like aluminum and barium, but it's not geoengineering. It's short-lived, tropospheric, and phase in hours or days. So, for those who don't know this, these are the metals detected in jet exhaust. Everything that you're talking about when you're talking about chemtrails is either produced by jet fuel burning, by breakdown of metals in the engines, the fans, all of that stuff, or the lubricants like the greases and oils, which contain barium, among other things. The list is right there. Sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, lead, is down here, tin, strontium, barium, zirconium, niobium, molybdenum, aluminum, silicon, and then sulfur and selenium. These are the ultra-fine particles detected in 2016 by Abigellin et al. 2016 in a science paper that I published, on my page. Stratospheric aerosol injection, that's 70,000 feet. Stratosphere level designed to linger for months, turning the sky milky white. Not making clouds. No commercial jets doing that yet. The chemtrail label blurs this line and is killing our activism. I ranted about this here. How chemtrails are ruining activism. Information without coordinated resistance is futile. This happens to be one of the top 5 articles on my my Substack. You should read it sometime. Come over to the Substack and read it. And if you're particularly benevolent, help your boy out. I would love to be able to quit my 40-hour-a-week job as a security guard in a government building and be able to do this full time. And then I could leave my house and I could go get some laws passed, go back up to DC and lobby the, creatures from scumbag, DC to actually get off their butt and do something about this. And I could do it with confidence and definitely with all the receipts. State law is possible but limited. I left that out. Call it what it is. Aviation pollution. That's the fight we can win, not some sci-fi stratospheric aerosol injection boogeyman. You're not going to win this fight. The only way we win that fight is literally for the entire United States to say, any country that violates our borders, doing stratospheric aerosol injection, geoengineering, would be a violation of the Environmental Modification Convention and would be an act of war. Unlike Mexico, we will bomb the shit out of you if you geoengineer over America. Anything short of that does not matter when it comes to geoengineering. State laws banning geoengineering are a good middle finger to the man. It definitely lets the scientists know what we believe about what they're doing and that we don't approve. But it's not enforceable and it's not going to change the skies overhead because, like we pointed out, the Clean Air Act and the scientists calling it accidental geoengineering, they don't agree with you. They're not going to hear you. You cannot enforce it. That's the whole point of this exercise today. State laws. We look at all these bills. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I will point this out. If you look right here at this state legislature thing that I put up here for you guys, brought to you by ClimateViewer Chat's own Ed Wells. Shout out to Ed Wells and ClimateViewer Chat, one of the admins over there. I said, Ed homeboy, brother man, what I need from you, Ed, can you find me all of the state laws right now going on in America to ban geoengineering? And he put this together for me in less than a day. So I put this out here for all of you guys to go look at yourself. This is free to download. Everything I do is open source. It's free of charge. I only ask that people support me. So that would be great. I see chat is like all, you guys must be talking about Manic Cat. I'm assuming that's what that's about. I'm going to address Manic Cat tomorrow and her claims. And I'm going to be gentle because people with mental issues should be treated gently. I will use my kid gloves, but we will address all of the claims that she made tomorrow in a video. Promise. 9 o'clock tomorrow. Come see me. Holler at your boy. We'll talk all about Manic Cat, or as she's better known in ClimateViewer Chat before she was banned from ClimateViewer Chat for acting absolutely crazy. Manic Cat 6 Hurricane. She is Cat 6 Hurricane. Mellow Cat, Manic Cat. Doesn't matter what you call her. Regardless, back to the show. So in here you can see all of the different laws that have been attempted or passed and where they're at. So everything from 2 bills in Arizona, Connecticut, Florida, Idaho, where they're at, links to Legiscan, and in a lot of cases, links directly to the state legislature link as well. Bill text right here. And if there's a video, which really I had planned on filling in this entire last block with the video links and then grabbing all those videos and uploading to my YouTube. I realize now that that's an exercise in futility, so we will not be doing that. But as you can see, just some examples here. This is Illinois, February 2nd, 2024. Failed January 7th, and there's the link. And here's the list of failures. Kentucky, died in committee. Again, died in committee. So you can clearly see not a good winning track record going on here. Minnesota, dead. January 25. Mississippi, died in committee. Mississippi again, died, dead. Missouri, dead. North Dakota, failed to pass February 7th. Ohio, died in committee. So of all of these, only Tennessee, and I'm just looking at the first page, only Tennessee so far has passed. Pennsylvania died. Rhode Island, both died in committee. I mean, I hate to say it, but I told you so. It was in the video. People begged me to cover it. You got to get followers to get you on InfoWars. Bro, I have been trying for years to get on those shows. They are never going to have me on there. The bottom line is, I don't jive with their fear porn put narrative. Even though I can tell you all about laser steering lightning bolts and weather warfare and all that stuff, when it comes down to the chemtrails, we're not going to see eye to eye. Because even though there may be secret government programs going on, in the almost 20 years total that I've been doing this, I have literally tracked every flight that I've seen and then checked to see should it be creating contrails or not. And every single time, it's been a commercial flight that I could track, and it was supposed to be making contrails. And on the days where it's perfectly clear, the air is not humid enough, there aren't ice supersaturated regions in the area, so no plane is making contrails that turn into cirrus clouds that block out the sun. People don't want to understand this, and they want to shoot the messenger because they don't even like the word contrails. Get over it. Get over it, or we'll never ever change this. So, these can stop local weather modification, cloud seeding, fog dispersal. I'm all for it. Transparency is the key, like I demanded in my EPA speech. These laws that I just showed you. But aviation-induced cirrus, forget it. None of these bills can touch planes cruising at cruising altitude. The FAA's got that on lockdown, and the EPA's too busy dodging real issues like leaded avgas to care about contrails. See my 2015 SUBSTACK grant. Even if every state passed a ban, those clouds would still form because states can't reroute flights or tweak jet fuel. That's federal turf. Now, as far as Bill Gates and company trying to geoengineer contrails, that's a story for another day. But the very first article I wrote on Substack was titled Geoengineering with Contrails. And then a follow-up to that in June 14, 2024, Contrail Geoengineering, the chemtrail conspiracy, real deal. If you want a whole nother video, you need to watch that stuff. But we're not talking about that today. We're not going to talk about contrails.org and Breakthrough Energy and how Bill Gates and Ken Caldera are working with contrail avoidance, all that to make cooling contrails, not warming contrails, blah, blah, blah. The real fight, aviation pollution, not chemtrail myths. Here's my pitch to you chemtrail warriors. Refocus. Banning weather mods to show the world we're pissed. Show the world's pissed. Great. It's enforceable on the ground, and it forces accountability like my Environmental Modification Accountability Act push. If you guys haven't seen it, climateviewer.com/NMOD, ENMOD. But geoengineering bans, they're symbolic middle fingers to SAI schemes. like the ones the U.S. and Saudi Arabia blocked at the United Nations in 2019. I covered that here. Like right here. As you can see. UN geoengineering governance blocked by U.S. and Saudi Arabia. March 22nd, 2019. Several UN officials die in plane crash en route to United Nations Environmental Program Geoengineering Governance meeting. You can't make this stuff up. So while they're trying to pass geoengineering governance laws to make stratospheric aerosol injection legal, which they have not yet, everybody seems to be claiming, well, it's already going on, Jim. Why are you even on this subject? Bruh, get with the program. And I'm like, you guys get with the program. Please. We need you on our side. We need people educated on this. So, they won't stop planes from spewing soot and sulfur at 35 to 45,000 feet, wrecking our skies and ozone. Check out my 2017 piece on ozone depletion from contrail, cirrus, and soot. The real enemy's aviation pollution. It says carbon black dust. Oh, my heart. It says carbon black. It should say black carbon. I meant to change that. I even had one of my friends on X say to me, dude, did you mean to say carbon black? And I'm like, no, I meant to say black carbon. Then I was like, oh, I should go change that. I didn't change that. Damn. Anyway, black carbon, soot, sulfuric acid, and metals turning contrails into cirrus that mess with the climate and health. We can lobby the EPA and FAA to cut sulfur and metals in jet fuel, like NATO's single fuel concept, which I exposed in 2014, eliminate biofuels, aka sustainable aviation fuels, like NASA's access tests here. If you guys aren't familiar with the whole biofuel test, jet biofuels enlisted for contrail control, you can check that over here on weathermodificationhistory.com. And I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom through all these links and just show you this is them testing those chemtrails and their biofuels. What you're going to see is when the plane flies into the chemtrails, wait for it. And you can see they take a big sniff of the chemtrails, the ultra fine particles, Oh, here's nugget. I can't breathe. And that's actual chemtrail testing. That is real world testing of biofuels for contrail control, what their soot emissions are, and will they create clouds or not. You can see that from multiple different angles on here, but regardless, that's what's going on there. I have 4 more videos of that. It's called the Alternative Fuel Effects on Contrails and Cruise Emissions Access Flights, and I interviewed Dr. Rangasai Halthori, the head of that aviation, of the FAA's Aviation Climate Change Research Initiative. There are no nozzles. DJ, so perceptive. There are no nozzles. That's jet exhaust. In fact, I've been doing this 20 years. Nobody's ever showed me a nozzle, a pump, or a pipe that I could not find the original source of, and it was not what they said it was. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so damn confident on here telling you this is contrails. These are contrails turning into clouds, and it comes from jet exhaust, and it always has come from jet exhaust. Did you not catch the part about aviation-induced cloudiness in World War II behind B-17G flying fortresses? Those are propeller planes, man. It was World War II. You mean to tell me that they were flying over Germany, but they were spraying clouds out the back because they wanted to stop global warming? No, I'm pretty sure that they were pissed off that they had big white lines coming out of their planes, which ended up basically showing the Germans exactly where their bombers were to shoot all of the guns at them. So this is the bottom line. This is the truth. This is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Made a deal with God. Said, God, I will tell the truth no matter how much pain, no matter how much crap comes my way, if you will just keep me safe. And so far, God has done that, and I have done that. We tight. And I hope to keep it that way. So we can do that, and we can force airlines to use contrail avoidance routing so they don't make clouds at all. You can literally just avoid these ice supersaturated regions. They know that at these altitudes, they're going to create clouds. So they can at least avoid the majority of them by not flying in those areas. So, like right here, short contrails possible 36,000 feet and below. Above that, none. Good. In this area, fly above that. Very simple solution. It's going to cost some money, though. And that's their argument. It'll cost us money to fly around ice supersaturated regions. Hey, it's the trade-offs. But using biofuels, this is not a good idea. And I've warned people in the past about this idea because in the end, what you're going to end up with is a chemical solution to get rid of clouds so that you people stop complaining about them. But now the jet exhaust is even more poisonous than it was before. So instead of visible white streaks in the sky that block out the sun, you're going to get your sunshine back, but you're going to get genetically modified chemtrails. You're going to get plant-based Jatropha plant, camelina plant, oilseed crops, Fischer-Tropsch process, landfill waste to jet fuel. You name it, they've thought of it. All of these literally turning CO2 into jet fuel. Carbon capture to jet fuel. What they call farm to fly program, where they literally go, don't grow food for people, grow gas for jet aircraft. If you like that idea, go for it. Me, I've been against biofuels and sustainable aviation fuels since 2013, and I said so at my EPA hearing in 2015, and I'll address that with Manic Cat, who claimed that I'm for biofuels in her video today. Sorry, honey. You're going to be really disappointed when you realize that it's all on tape. It's literally on archive.org. And we've already showed you that. So to wrap up, act smart, not loud. So yeah, state laws banning weather mods, possible, enforceable, do it. Geoengineering bans. They flex the people's will against stratospheric aerosol injection, and that's badass. But don't expect them to clear the skies of contrail cirrus. The Clean Air Acts got aviation locked down, and Tennessee's proof. Their ban passed, yet clouds keep coming. Focus on aviation pollution. Ditch the chemtrail noise. Ditch the term. The term is burnt out. It's useless. And we might actually be able to win this. I've got the receipts from my Substack to my doc citations. Let's fight the right fight together. Check out my work at ClimateViewer.com, weather modification history, and join the real battle. Stop following the herd and join us in saving our skies. Also check out saveourskies.org. Shout out to Renette Senham. She's catching a whole lot of hell today too. Hope to brighten your day. And at the end of every article, I ask everybody, go over to connect.climateviewer.com. It links to all of my things. Click here to join our Telegram chat. Come meet Jeff, our meteorologist. Stella Q, who's in chat right now also. Bettina from Geoengineering Free Canada. And Jeff, Ed Wells, who put together the state ban list. They're all hanging out in Telegram right now, just chilling. Here's our Telegram chat as we speak. What are they talking about here? GiantMagellan.org. There's Claudio. C. Ramos in chat is Claudio right there. Whole lot of stuff going on. Starting moment, folks. Cheerio sharing the video. We have a general chat. We have a research paper chat, which is just loaded with research papers. In fact, Ed dropped like 25 freaking patents on me earlier today because he likes to make me work. This is Ed Wells, our chief science nerd, aeronautical meteorological observer and chemistry expert Ed Wells, constantly giving me work. Let's just put it that way. And he's just got all these new weather mod patents, which are not currently in the weather modification history patent list. Damn. So, yeah, thanks, Ed. Appreciate you making a lot of work for me. We have a news page section, and we have a video section where you can share all the latest news on, everything, all the things circa the topic. But I would greatly appreciate if you guys come over and join the Telegram chat, and they will help educate you. That's what they're there for. It's not just me that's devoted to this. We have a whole team over there, and they're great people. And, there are haters out there who'll say they spend all their time just debunking chemtrails. But at the end of the day, what really matters is they're trying to help you. And when everybody comes in with their preconceived notions based on all the fear porn they've been ingesting for years on end, it's really hard to help people that don't want help. It's hard to help people who have their minds made up. The reason why it says not an expert right here, even though everybody agrees I'm an expert on this stuff, is because I live by the saying, always a student, sometimes a teacher, never an expert. The moment you think you're an expert, the moment you think you've got it all figured out, you have become crystalline. I'd rather be Bruce Lee and be like water. I want to be able to fill any vessel. I want to be open to the possibility of change. I want to be open to the possibility I'm wrong. I've been wrong in the past. I've admitted it to you guys the moment that it was brought to my attention. So I expect that you guys keep me honest. And that's what I'm hoping on. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. If you see something that does not agree, it doesn't resonate with you, if you think that I've got this blind spot, point it out to me. I need to know. I want to learn more, because the more I learn, the better I will get at teaching it to other people. I'm not doing this for fame, fortune, or any of that stuff. Everything I have done, every video I've made, every website I've created by hand that I coded myself, and the graphics, and meanwhile, my family supporting me doing this stuff for free, is completely supported by you guys. So if you got it in your heart, if you got the ability, please come over here, join the ClimateViewer Report on SUBSTACK, consider becoming a paid subscriber. The more people that subscribe to the paid subscribership, you'll be helping out, and you can support me right here at the bottom of ClimateViewer, connect.climateviewer.com. Patreon, you can sign up monthly. PayPal, Cash App, Gibson, Go Buy Me Coffee. Some people don't like some of these things. They're like, I don't use Patreon or PayPal. Do you have any other options? So I was like, I guess I better come up with some other options. Which leads me to the last point. This is the time of year where I have to pay for all the servers and all the software that I use for the year. Normally by now I've got my tax return. I don't know what the hell's going on with the tax people. So anybody that can support me right now, if you want to give a one-time donation on PayPal, that would be greatly appreciated, because it's going to go to paying for the servers, the SSL certificates, the content delivery network, all of that. Speaking of open book, I do need to work on a book. Patrick Wood told me that. Dr. Peter Bregan, I did an interview with him. He's like, why haven't you written a book yet? I need to get off my butt and do something like that. I am an open book. There are no secrets here. For those who think that I'm a shill, we're living high on the hog. I'm working 40 hours a week as a security guard, living in the finest double-wide trailer ever purchased by the Illuminati. And this entire production setup, this computer, the lights, this microphone has all been paid for by climate viewers like you, people who cared and trusted me and supported me. God bless every single one of you who've done that. Honestly, I couldn't do this without you. I get by with a little help from my friends. I don't get high anymore because I can't. But regardless, thank you so much. For those who made it to the end of this video, you're the troopers. You're the freaking Climate Viewer Army. It's your job to go now spread the word. If you made it this far, you care about this topic, and you found this informative. If you found this informative, please, if you have not yet, subscribe. It's free. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you don't like YouTube, go to Rumble. In fact, even if you're on YouTube, go to Rumble and subscribe there, because you never know when they might just decide, you know what, we've had enough of this guy's crap, and we're going to delete everything about him. That's why I have backup channels. I'm also at Climate Viewer on X. Right now we're live on X. Believe it or not, according to the numbers I'm seeing right now, there are more people watching on X than on YouTube, which is freaking awesome. Shout out to my X homeboys and girls. Love you, mean it over there. This has been a very difficult topic to talk about for a very long time, because many people, especially in 2015, they just absolutely were not ready to have this conversation. But today, there's a lot of people who've changed on that. Melody's asking if I've got a P.O. box. If you go to the bottom of ClimateViewer.com or WeatherModificationHistory.com, it's on the bottom. My address is on there. I don't even have a P.O. box. That's how not scared I am of people on the internet. Maybe that's a dumb thing to do. But regardless, you come to the bottom of ClimateViewer.com, headquarters, 25 Trip Drive, Sumter, South Carolina. It's right there. You can literally just go to Google Maps and it'll show you right where I live. But that's my mailbox address. If I'm lying, I'm dying. And you can see the mailbox right there. There's the mailbox address. It says Climate Viewer News right on it, and it says 25 Trip Drive. So, yes, my address is on there, 25 Trip Drive, Sumter, South Carolina, 29153. For those who hate all of the things, on the, the digital ways of doing all of that. But that's how, open book I am. Maybe it's stupid. maybe I'm the idiot for putting my address on my website. But, that's the way it is. Okay. I thought you were asking me to debate you. I'm like, dude, same team. Like, what's that all about? Kramos is my homeboy from down in Chile. I did promise you an interview down in Chile. Kramos has literally taken a lot of my PowerPoints and translated them to Spanish. And, we've got some pretty amazing people. I love you all. I mean it. Thank you for sticking through this video. Please share these videos. Share the article. It's all free. Try to, you may not be able to convince other people. No amount of evidence will ever convince an idiot. But a lot of people are getting really burnt out on their fear. And you can only use fear for so long to motivate people. And eventually, people either quit altogether and they move on to other things, or they say, you know what, I've heard the same thing for decades on end. I'm not believing this anymore. I'm not seeing any solutions. I want solutions and I want answers. Here's where they end up. I welcome you. I was you. I'm glad that you've graduated. Thank you all for sticking through this video. Please share it. Leave me a comment. Let me know what I should add to the next video. And come by tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll deal with the drama llama that happened today, tomorrow. Love you, mean it. Attack ideas, not people. Catch you on the next one, which will be tomorrow night. If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code.
Better than anything you can get without a prescription. Anything. It's the best.